So, Mayor, this morning the Republicans announced a Justice Reform Act, and yesterday Trump signed an executive order on police reform. It stops short of pushing for outright bans on certain behavior like chokeholds. But it does call for a transparency and for holding officers more accountable. So, what do you say? Is it in the right direction we're going, or is it just lip service? So what do you say?
I was encouraged by the national database. I do think that's important as we're looking to hire officers to see what their histories are with other agencies. But then Donald Trump got in the way of Donald Trump, as he always does. So when you don't mention race and you don't mention bias, and then you go on a rant about school choice, it's hard to take him seriously in this moment. And Joy, and I'll just say this, we don't have another minute to spare. We had convened last week an advisory task force in Atlanta to look at our use of force policies. And not 3 days later, then Rayshard Brooks was killed in Atlanta. And so we don't have time for the theatrics. We've got to have action right now, and we needed it yesterday.
You know, one of the things that's irritating to me is I keep hearing folks bring up a victim's past criminal record. And it sounds like you're trying to justify why this person was murdered. I mean, is this something that we need to sort of point out to people, that when you perpetrate an issue on a person, it makes them the victim? And you can't victim shame. And you brought it up earlier. We've learned how not to do that with lots of different issues. Why can't we figure out how to do that with this?
Well, I know that when the officers had that interaction with Mr. Brooks, they weren't concerned about his criminal record when they had those actions with him. Whatever his criminal record may or may not be, that's completely irrelevant to what happened with him on Friday evening. And it's a distraction. There are college kids across this country in college towns, I am sure, who have drunken encounters with police officers and even perhaps fall asleep in drive-through windows. And we don't see people getting killed across this country. So it doesn't have anything to do with a record. What it has to do with how we're interacting with our communities. And de-escalation doesn't just start when you are arresting someone. De-escalation starts when you stop someone. There's so many ways that this could have gone differently, and it didn't. And that doesn't have anything to do with a criminal history.
Sonny?
Madam Mayor, prosecutors are expected to make a decision to charge the officers as early as today, is my understanding. His family's asking for Officer Ralph to be charged with murder. And you're a lawyer yourself, and you immediately called for the firing of the officers, but the police union apparently has condemned you for acting too quickly, stating that Officer Ralph was terminated without due process and without an investigation. I say that Rayshard was killed without due process. But what is your response to the police union, and what is your response to whether or not the murder?
Well, Sonny, there's a quote that I love from Audre Lorde, and it says, "Your silence will not protect you." So I could not stand by and be silent on this. And I've had a great working relationship with our public safety community in Atlanta, but wrong is wrong is wrong. So we have an independently elected district attorney in Atlanta, and he will make the determination on what charges, if any, are appropriate. I'll defer to him and wait and see what charges he brings, if any. We have some other use of force cases that are still sitting in the district attorney's office. And I just hope that we can get the same attention to those cases as well, because our communities are in limbo. So we'll see what his recommendations are, and I'll defer to his judgment on that.